Welcome everyone to this fifth episode of the webinar series on Generative AI for Development and HPC. My name is Nicolas Herman, coordinator at EuroCC Belgium, and Geert-Jan Bex, also part of the project, will present the webinars. As usual, these webinars will mainly feature recorded demonstrations of using generative AI. And this episode focuses on getting to know your data. And there is a dedicated Q&A channel in this Teams meeting where you can ask questions, and the questions will be answered at the end of the session. I recall that EuroCC Belgium is the Belgium National Competence Center in high performance computing. And we promote and facilitate the use of high-performance computing, high-performance data analysis, and artificial intelligence in Belgium. And we collaborate, share resources, and compiling training opportunities in HPC or AI-related topics. So the first part of this webinar is about using ChatGPT for data analysis. Here we go. And as usual, it's a video that is playing. So if the video does not launch, you can click to launch the video.
ChatGPT can also be used to do data analysis. I've got an Excel file here, which I use to keep track of participants to training sessions. So the first column is just the name of the training session. The second is the date at which that training took place or will take place. The third is the participant, represented by his email address. And the last column is whether that person, after registering, actually turned up. Okay, so what I would like to know, for instance, is how many participants came from a certain university. And of course I can determine that based on the domain name of the email address. The data file is an Excel spreadsheet which I can upload to ChatGPT from my local computer. Okay, so now we can start ask questions on our data. For instance, how many people signed up for the training sessions in total and how many actually participated. So that, of course, then it's of course easy to compute the ratio of no-shows. So basically, ChatGPT is analyzing the data and it creates Python scripts in order to deal with this data. So that basically means that you can actually check what it's doing, and if you like, you can copy paste that code and use it as basis for a script of your own. But let's continue and let's see what the actual result is. So, okay, it has been very smart in the sense that it has actually grouped the information by the training. So that's rather nice. It wasn't really what I asked for because I wanted the overall numbers rather than broken up by training, but okay, I can live with that. Let's check whether it also computed the no-show ratio, and indeed here it is. So for a number of trainings we get a no-show ratio between 20% say and 40%. Okay, I still want the actual no-show ratio for all the trainings combined. So let's see whether I can get ChatGPT to do this for me. So again, generating Python code. And we get at 33.64%. And indeed, that was what I asked for. Another question that might be of interest is, are there any trainings that have been scheduled multiple times? So that would mean that a training with the same name occurs on multiple dates. So let's see what ChatGPT makes of this. Okay, indeed, the training session version control with Git has indeed been scheduled twice in this period, so it occurs indeed twice in this dataset. So the question we started with, how many participants are there belonging to different universities or other entities, wasn't answered yet. So let's try and get an answer now. Okay, so these are our percentages, and essentially the majority of participants is from KU Leuven, Belgian University. Scrolling down in the list, we notice that besides universities there are also research institutes and even some private companies. So it would be interesting to challenge ChatGPT to identify the non-academic participants. Let's see how that goes. So as you can see, we get a few reasonable candidates, like Gmail. That's definitely correct. And Flanders Make is, yeah, you might discuss about it. But of course the next one, Étudiant FST in Tunisia, is most likely a university. ITG, Institute of Tropical Medicine, is research institute. TUM.de is a technical university. So, and apparently U Antwerp students are not counted as academic, and U Ghent, capitalization also isn't recognized as such. And I don't think they will be very happy at Vito with this. So, yeah, this is not really a very good result. So let's try to rephrase the question a little bit and ask for the companies that participated in the training sessions. Not particularly better, since it actually just did the same thing again as last time. It really hasn't got a clue what a company is or what a university is. It just has a list of what happens to be mostly Belgian universities, and that's where it actually ends. Of course, with large language models, the clue is always to go into conversation with them. So what happens if I ask it what TUM.de actually is? As you can see, it searches the web and it figures out correctly that this is a technical university of Munich. Okay, so now the question is, can it use that information to improve the result it gave before? And indeed, as you can see, now it realizes that the Technical University of Munich is in fact an academic institute, so basically it improved its previous answer. Now, of course, you would have to do this for each and every, shall we say, suspicious entry in this list, which makes it rather manual. So, frankly, I would actually just copy the code, add some things which I know to be academic, and be done with it. Of course, we might try to let ChatGPT do that. Let's see what happens. So this looks better. It's not entirely correct, because still University of Antwerp students and U Ghent with capital doesn't seem to be academic, neither is Vito. So basically it helped a little bit, but as you can see, it's not foolproof. So that's a little bit disappointing, but yeah, there you go. ChatGPT can also help us do data visualization. So I'd like to see how many participants there are in Python related courses versus in non-Python related courses. So let's see what ChatGPT comes up with. And so basically, here's my result. 24% of the training participants took part in non-Python, well, in Python-related trainings, while the majority of people participated in non-Python-related trainings. So about 3/4. Let's try something else, asking for a line plot that shows the number of participants over time. Okay, it has nicely done that. Of course, the last number of participants is for a session that will take place tomorrow, so basically that is not going to be very relevant. But apart from that, it is indeed the plot I would expect, because some trainings are more popular than other trainings. As such, this plot doesn't really mean anything in the sense that this would be useful over multiple years and see how the participation evolves, but this is comparing apples with oranges, since all of these are just different trainings. You may have noticed that these plots were made with Matplotlib, which is of course typically the go-to library for plots with Python, but they look a bit, shall we say, dated. So let's see whether ChatGPT can redo this plot, but this time using Seaborn, another Python plotting package that's very well suited for all kinds of plots related to statistics. Indeed, it does the import correct, Seaborn SSNS, and that's promising. It has redone both plots actually, although I asked just for the previous plot singular, but okay. So indeed, and it also replaced my pie chart by a bar chart. Okay, I can live with that. And then we have the Seaborn version of this plot, which is arguably better or not, depending on your taste. Let's see whether I can get it to do a pie chart rather than a bar chart. So indeed, it produces a very nice pie chart here in Seaborn style, which is, it looks a bit more modern than Matplotlib. Okay, so this has nothing to do with data visualization, but nevertheless I can't resist. Let's just ask ChatGPT what I should follow of these trainings if I'm interested in supercomputing. Python for HPC is definitely a good idea. Machine learning with Python, maybe. Code optimization, very good choice. Containers for HPC, excellent. Best practices for R on HPC, quite good. So basically, this seems like quite reasonable advice. Although actually I would have hoped to also see an GPU training which is in there, and apparently ChatGPT doesn't think that that is relevant for someone interested in supercomputing.
So here it is for the data analysis. We can now follow the second part of this webinar, and it's about using ChatGPT for fitting functions. So here we go.
The previous example with the data of participants of training sessions, of course, is a bit more, shall we put it, management rather than a scientific data analysis. So let's try our hand at some actual scientific data. So I have a file, datapoints.txt, and that just contains 2 columns separated by a space of x and y coordinates. What they are isn't really important. We can just upload that to ChatGPT, and we can ask it to create a scatter plot of the points in the data file. And doing so gives us what is most likely a matplotlib plot, and as you can see, it does a very good job on that. So the data looks somewhat linear or not. So one of the things we might want to ask is whether it can do a linear regression for us. And indeed it can. It will immediately produce a plot with the data points as before, but also with the linear fit added to it, which is quite convenient. And moreover, it will actually do the analysis in the sense that we get measures of the quality of the fit, such as the R value or R square and the P value and so on. So this is quite neat. It also gives us the actual equation of the line it plotted. Okay, now this looks reasonable. I think you would agree, except here at the beginning near the y-axis, it's not so very convincing, so maybe we should try a nonlinear fit. Okay, if we do that, then ChatGPT will try a quadratic fit, which is of course not a bad idea, and again we get the equation for that parabola. So basically, or rather that second degree function. So basically, as you can see, the fit is better, and if we look at the values for the fit, so basically it doesn't really tell us. So it also suggests doing some other nonlinear models, such as exponential, logarithmic, higher degree polynomials, whatever. So let's ask it to try logarithmic fit, because yeah, it looks vaguely logarithmic, maybe, so let's try. Okay, so it does. Again, it gives us the equation, and yeah, maybe not that good. Basically here near the y-axis, not really convincing, since the values would be negative, and we don't find that in our data. So not so convincing, I'd say. Then we can ask, of course, which of the three models has the highest R value, and doing so, we get a nice comparison. The linear model has 0.93, the quadratic model 0.95, and the logarithmic model 0.88. So clearly the quadratic model has the highest R square value, which indicates that it would be the best fit among the three models, the linear one, the logarithmic one, and the quadratic one. Okay, would I like to explore other models? Well, maybe, but let's ask ChatGPT what it would recommend us to do based on the data. Okay, actually it will recommend a couple of things which may or may not make sense. An exponential fit, that really doesn't look exponential to me, neither with a positive or negative b value, but okay, it might be appropriate. Nah, I don't think so. A power law, could be, and of course then higher order polynomials such as a cubic fit, yeah, why not, could be, but okay, that's leading us down some rabbit hole where maybe we don't want to go. So let's ask it to do a power law, please, a power law fit. Okay, doing so gives us a rather good fit, and again we get the equation, and the performance, which it gives us automatically this time, is in fact quite good. As you can see, it's a little bit better than the one of the quadratic and the linear fit. So it has remembered that I was interested in the performance, and now it's giving it automatically rather than me having to ask for it. So that's quite convenient. And then we can ask for the significance, and again we get an adjusted R square value, Now, to be honest, I'm not into statistics enough in order to really interpret this correctly. I don't know what the adjusted R-square values are. It also does an F-test comparison, and basically the conclusion of that would be that the power law model is significantly better than the quadratic fit. Also note that it actually just has taken into account the linear fit and the quadratic fit, and simply has dropped the logarithmic fit, which wasn't that great anyway. So again, that's rather a neat feature. And basically, the conclusion is that the quadratic model is significantly better than the linear model, but the power law model is even better. So basically, as you can see, without writing a single line of code, I got statistical analysis, a fit of quite a number of functions with the relevant equations. Note, by the way, that for each of these analyses, we actually get the code which ChatGPT used internally in order to do this analysis. So this makes it easy for us to verify whether what ChatGPT did makes sense in some way or not.
So I thank you for following this webinar. I recall that the EuroCC project is funded by European Union and Euro HPC GU. And if you have any question, please use the dedicated feed, and Gertian will be happy to answer them. It seems that we don't have any question today.
There seems to be one now. Can ChatGPT also modify the Excel file itself, generating plots? Not that I'm aware of, in the sense that ChatGPT can read Excel files, but it is, in theory, it could generate you the code to do that. So that would be possible. There are Python packages that allow you to create Excel spreadsheets. So it could generate you the code to do that, but it's not going to do it itself, as far as I know, because it doesn't really have a way to create files and let you download them. That requires some additional infrastructure that, as far as I know, OpenAI does not have in place.
Yeah, for my experience, the best way is to import the Excel in Python, for example, and then modify or create a new Excel file in Python.
There is another question. Well, I'd say, so the question is, how good is ChatGPT as an analyst? As with everything, you need to check. It does things, but I wouldn't trust it beyond my own statistical knowledge. in the sense that it might very well be correct, but if I'm not able to verify that it's correct, if it goes beyond my own expertise, then it's, as everything that generative AI does, pretty tricky. That would essentially be the answer. So for any statistics I know how to do, it's fine. That's my experience. One of the things that I didn't show you, but I did that in a demo a year ago, was actually not to provide the data, but to provide a screenshot of a plot, and then ask it to do a linear regression on that data, and it did that remarkably well. So it did image analysis on the plot, was able to get the coordinates of each of the data, well, of probably most of the data points, and put that in a table, did the analysis, etc., etc. This was really impressive. I decided not to include that, but there are slides of that if anyone is interested. It's somewhere in a GitHub repository. Tested functionality with no. So basically, I did some tests with Gemini, but not with the other AIs such as Claude, such as Sonnet, and so on and so on. So no, again, I typically don't shop around that much because I consider it an arms race, and I prefer to, let's say, invest a little bit more effort in getting to know a certain tool a bit better than to switch tools all the time. And I'm just assuming that if another tool is better at this point in time, then ChatGPT or whatever your favorite is will actually catch up a little bit later. So in that respect, I typically don't go into comparing many AI models. But that's just due to, let's say, lack of time in a way, because I prefer to use them to get some stuff done rather than to experiment.
So I guess we exhausted the list of questions for today. So let us thank you again for attending to this webinar. The last session will be tomorrow about chatting with code documentation. And thank you, Gertjan, for the content and the answers to the questions.
Thanks for organizing, Nicola. Thanks for everyone else for attending, and perhaps see you tomorrow.